Welcome to Loose Change, much better than the book version. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jim Evans, and you will be so glad you did. We have a great guest booked, so hang tight. What's been going on, though? First off, Greg, I'm at home, I'm laying on the couch as usual, dozing in and out. TV's on, I wake up, and I see what I think is a show on spinal decompression. They're actually trying to make this guy grow taller. Two guys pulling him, one from the hands, the other from the ankles. And I look closer, and it's just another guy getting dragged off a United Airlines flight. The Cavs couldn't quite get it done in the NBA championship. They lose to the Warriors. However, it was a great season, nonetheless. And great news off the court as well for J.R. Smith and his wife. Their premature daughter doing much better now. And I was thinking, you know, if Kyrie Irving had a baby, all it would do is dribble. Great season, though, despite coming up short. What else is going on? Oh, Father's Day, of course. Got to think about Dad. I always do, for sure. A lot of great gifts out there. You may have heard that the president got a tie from Russia. Yeah. You know, and I am still so fascinated by this story recently, this 8-year-old kid in East Palestine. One day, he grabs his sister, they jump in the family van, he drives them to McDonald's, several blocks, and does so almost expertly, even past a vehicle on the way. I'm thinking, when I'm 8 years old, I was just really hoping to pass kindergarten. That's what was going on for me. What else? Oh, you know, also recently, I don't know if you heard about this, there was this massive lightning strike in the parking lot in front of a Walmart in Louisiana. Fortunately, no one was hurt. However, 26 shoplifters were knocked back into the store. So that worked out for them. Speaking of flashes, wow, we're going to be kind of focusing on that. The head coach of the champion Golden Flashes state champion team, Cheryl Weaver, joins us next. Batter up, hang in the box.
Let's talk business. What does yours need for communication? Whether you're a small business or a large one, Armstrong Business Solutions has the tools. From internet and telephone to high-speed fiber optic networking. Connecting multiple locations? No sweat. Conducting business on the go? We've got unified voice. As a telecommunications leader, we know what it takes to deliver the performance, reliability, and security required for business-critical IT and connectivity. Are you getting all that for what you're paying? Armstrong Business Solutions. Your business is our business.
Welcome back to Loose Change. I'm Jim Evans, and I have the great pleasure to be joined by the state champion Golden Flash softball coach, Cheryl Weaver. Cheryl, thanks so much for being with us.
Oh, Jim, thank you. This is an honor. I appreciate it.
Our pleasure for sure. And what we like to do with our victims, or our guests, off the top, for those who don't know, if you give us just a brief resume, where you're from, where you went to school, and how your career path took shape.
Well, I graduated from Southington, Shocker High, back in 1977. So I played softball there, but I also did track there also, and graduated, met my husband. We worked at Johnson Rubber, and we moved to Champion, and that's where we've been ever since. And my daughters played softball, and we were involved in travel ball and taking them, and plus the rec. And it was like, oh, I can kind of like this coaching. So kind of applied when I heard Champion had an opening. I first worked 1 year at Matthews.
Okay.
And which was a very good experience too. And Champion was looking, and I applied, and they gave it to me, and been there ever since, 18 years.
Good thing for them.
Oh, well, thanks.
What have the challenges been for you? I guess maybe from where you started to now, if there even is any to talk about.
Well, challenges, it's learning. It's learning, you know, when you started with the rec ball and the travel ball, you're with the younger age kids. You know, they're, especially girls, they're more like sponges to me. They want to take it in. They want to be better. I'm not saying boys don't, but there's just something about girls. They'll ask a lot of questions about how should this be done and that I find that very interesting. But when you move up to high school, yeah, then it's a little bit different. And you have a lot of, when you're dealing with school, that school drama, the high school drama.
Okay.
And I would say learning to deal with that and getting the girls to be all one, to be a team, because that's the only way you can win championships, is being a true team in the same focus.
Absolutely. Did you learn from or take from any coaches or managers in particular to what you're doing?
Well, personally, it was guys that I had coached with, and one gentleman, Larry Seifert. What a wonderful man! I don't know if anyone out there knows him, but he had coached basketball. He had coached all kinds of sports, and he was an athlete. And I think he's the one that taught me the most. Now, I worked with Glenn Rowland also. He knew the game. He was very into sports and knew how to handle the boys and girls. And you learned a lot from them.
And now folks are learning from you.
Well, I guess I try to let the kids know, you want to better yourself all the way around. I'm not so worried about having the best softball players. I want to have the best kids, the best character. I want them to see you need to learn to respect people for them to respect you. And I think that's what we need to do, is make the kids realize this is how you get better, have some character.
And every coach, manager, whatnot, at this level that I talk to here and on the radio side and previous time in TV, and they all say the same thing. At this level, it's about these experiences to take with them later on in life, and these life experiences at this time. That's what the primary thing is.
Oh, it is. I mean, that's what school is too,
Right.
learning how to handle when you go out there in the real world. So if you can't work together as a team, how are you going to do it in business? Unless you're going to be working all by yourself. You have to learn to be able to work together. And, that's where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, and you want these kids to realize, we all have a purpose, we all have our job, whether it's playing first base or whether it's the catcher or whether you're on the bench for a little while. We all have a role to play.
Right. And again, sports at this level, it further, I always tell people, this teaches young people, discipline, work, commitment, and again, certainly working with others.
Right.
And taking your lumps when you lose and being able to come back from it.
Yes, you have to I believe you have to learn how to lose first before you can learn to win. I mean, you'll see that. When you see kids or adults that do not know how to lose, that's not fun.
You have to learn from it.
Yes, you do. Learn from everything.
Right.
So you try to get that through the kids and to never stop learning.
Correct.
That's what you want to instill in them, is to continue to learn, but to be open-minded too, because you do run across some that, well, so-and-so tells me this is the only way. Yeah. No, you have to be open-minded. And there's so many, schools out there and teachers and instructors that have so many different ways, and I think you have to be open to look at all those. And if just one of those can help one of your players, to me that's worth it. Maybe it won't work for anybody else, but if it helps one.
I'm willing to bet that you're still learning, despite what you have achieved.
Oh yes, you have to. You have to pay attention to what other coaches are doing. I find that interesting, and every year I go down to Columbus to the big state clinic and listen to some of the professionals and the college coaches, and They always, every year, there's something that you can learn. I'd love to get around to more of them because there's always something
Yeah.
to learn.
And I know, again, and speaking with others and even from my own perspective, you can't place a value on working with young people and establishing those hopefully lifelong relationships that you can.
Right. Oh, you know what? I'll never forget any of the girls.
Right.
I mean, it's just like being a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
You have so many kids that you go through, but yet they're special, and they're always there,
That's
right
right.
there in the heart. So
Have the kids changed much at all from when you started to now?
change. If we're talking about softball, yes. Now, from when I started, all the pitchers have pitching coaches.
Yeah.
So many of the kids have hitting coaches. Moms and dads have pitching machines, and it's different because back then you didn't hear that.
No.
There might have
Very
been
rare.
one or two
Right.
pitching coaches in the whole Northeast Ohio, and everybody flocked to them. But now it's different, and it's made a world of difference too, because say you watch college softball, it amazes me how many freshmen are starters.
That's a great
They
point.
are amazing because it has changed. We're so specific on that, and if you can get an instructor to make you better, these kids are doing it. And I would say for Champion, that is how I'm blessed. These girls and families in Champion, whether it's been tradition, because from the very first state tournament in 1978 when Champion won it, and won it again in 80 and so on, there was something about that. They all wanted to be part of it. And if they can find an instructor that helps their kid out, it's like, that's fabulous.
It helps you all the more.
Well, it does.
Yeah.
And its other communities are seeing that too. But I would say I'm very blessed because it amazes me how many that do that.
And you're seeing more of that, maybe not quite as much with softball and baseball, but across a lot of different sports
Sports,
at
yeah.
this level, at that level now that you have this thing going on the side, and it all adds to the
It
to the product.
does. It does. It's just amazing. The only thing I wish that more of them would do was go
Okay.
see running coaches.
Ah.
That's something that a lot of them don't really know how to run just yet. That's something that would even make them better. And another thing you see that I find out I have to work a lot on is base running. So the hitting, the throwing, that's there, and the pitchers. But there's those little things that are very important in this game, or any sport, that we need some instructors for that too.
Greg, write that down. We need running coaches, base running coaches.
You know any? Hey.
We'll work on it. That was, change from then to now in terms of what they do on the field. How about the kids, though? Are they still pretty much kids as they were then?
Kids are kids other than social media.
Everybody says that. Everybody. It's amazing.
You know what? I have family that are really into social media. I had played with a little bit. I'm just not into it. It's like I just don't have the time,
Right.
maybe. But the kids are so much into that.
Oh,
They
yeah,
know
yeah.
everything that's going on and who's done it. It's a little scary to me.
Do you talk about that? Because every coach that mentions that,
Oh, yeah.
they say they address their
There's
athletes,
there's
their kids.
always every year there's somebody put something, and I'm not saying from Champion or
right.
where, but there's always something that goes on there, and you hear about it, and it's not good. And I'm always telling them, if I hear, you know what, I don't need you around because it's going to be problems. And these girls that want to go off to college, hey, this is what they're doing now. They're looking into social media accounts to see what these kids are posting. And I think that's good, and I always warn them that I do have a very strict rule that if you make other people unhappy, or Coach Weaver very unhappy, you're gone.
Don't need negative energy swirling
No,
around.
you don't.
So.
No, you don't. You
For
need
sure.
that synergy. So
That's right. We have to take a break. You can hang around, hopefully, Kate, because we have to talk about these championships we've got going on here in Champion. Cheryl Weaver, I'm Jim Evans. We'll be right back here on Loose Change. Hang with us.
The history, the sports, the stories, the events. Armstrong Local Programming puts the focus on our community. Watch to learn about new events or discover the rich history of our area. You can find local programming on your local programming channel and on demand. Want even more? Subscribe to the Armstrong One Wire channel on YouTube. It's our town all the time with Armstrong Local Programming. One Wire, infinite possibilities.
Welcome back to Loose Change. I'm Jim Evans along with Cheryl Weaver, the head coach of the state champion Golden Flashes softball team. 4 for you, right?
Yes.
And 7 for the school.
for a champion,
overall.
yes.
And just recently, you got your 4th title along with the baseball team earlier in the day. What a magnificent day that was
Oh
for
my!
Champion.
You know what? There's no words that can
No.
describe that. They say the last time that happened was 2004, and that was Walsh Jesuit. But now,
right.
for a public school to do it in a small school, really, to accomplish that, I think is just amazing. I'm so happy for the boys, and
Oh, yeah.
hey, you know what? Maybe they go on a roll too. So
Absolutely.
that'd be great.
But they did that earlier in the day down in Columbus.
Yes.
And then your squad was playing in the afternoon in Akron, so they were able to come up and
You know
catch
what?
the game. And,
That really picked up the girls. I'll tell you. You know, we played at 4, and when they came in, the stands, they stood up, they applauded, and it was like, that was so exciting. The girls were so excited. We all were. And that just brought that energy right to us.
Yeah.
You know, so we got to thank them. But they
give them a big assist, yeah.
it was just fabulous, you know, and they were there after we won and congratulating the girls, and Rick Yager and I giving each other a big hug, because that's just something that doesn't
Absolutely.
happen. But, you know, we go back to Champion all together. It was so exciting. The fire trucks, the
What a great day
police.
for the community
It
is.
was.
Yeah.
And the people lined the streets. And, you know, the girls that were on the team in 2015, they got to feel that before. But it's always so special for the new kids,
Yep.
and then for those boys, because it is something, it's just unbelievable.
I want to ask you which one was best, because each one is special in its own way. What made this year's group so special?
Well, I guess I would have to say they're probably the best hitting team that's ever come out of Champion.
Wow.
I don't know of another team that could hit like this team. 1 through 9, or even if I put in subs, any of them could have parked one over the fence or hit a double, triple. They just hit the ball. And the other thing I believe was the closeness. There was a lot of synergy there. They believed in each other. The way they would pick each other up if if somebody struck out, I mean, they were just right there, let it go. They had one goal, and they set everything for that one goal, and they did it.
It's almost like if you fell behind, it was like, okay, we got them right where we want them.
Well, yeah, well,
You know, come out and say that, but
yeah, but you know what, you felt like you could. You know,
Yeah.
the thing about this team and this year, we only had, and I'm not bragging or anything, but we only had a few close games, and they were actually scoring 10 runs or more a game and beating other teams, you know, by a few runs. So what was scary for me is as we knew we were going into tournaments that, you know, we're not going to be facing this. We could be behind. And I wasn't sure how these girls were going to react because they'd been ahead all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
So, we lined up some good games with Maslin Perry and such, and we lost those, and I think that was the best thing for us, was to lose those 2 games and be behind, because now they saw what you have to do to continue on. Like I said, losing sometime is a great thing.
Doesn't hurt you as much as you might think.
No, it doesn't. You learn.
Well, you beat the defending champs, right? And,
Yes, Wheelersburg.
What was the mindset coming in, though? Your group was confident they can get it done, and what happened out there?
You know what happened out there was it was funny, because Wheelersburg is known to be a little more flashier.
Okay.
They have, there's 2-3 coaches with champion.
They had
They have 6. They have 6 coaches. For a public school, you don't typically see that. And so they were kind of overwhelming. There's 22 girls in that dugout. It was just overwhelming. And I just kept telling the girls, don't pay any attention to that. They're only going to put 9 girls on that field.
That's right.
And there's only the 2 coaches out there, so we can't worry about how they come out any other way. But the girls were like, Mrs. Weaver, we can do this. So I was confident. I wasn't sure as the game went. When we started out, I felt really good. We had that close inning there where it's like, okay, bases loaded, and who knows what's going to happen here. But I still felt really good inside.
What you mentioned how through most of the season you had the luxury of having perhaps big leads. Did you find yourself having to make, or maybe in that game, or maybe a game leading up to it, any in-game adjustments? Maybe you don't get a chance to do that when you're always ahead.
Other than making sure they stay up, because and that's what we learned when we played Maslin Perry, was you saw some of the girls getting a little more quieter, where they were always up and on the fence and loud.
Yep.
And it's like, you got to stay up and fight all the way to the end. That's something we always say, is you've got to be a fighter and fight to the end. So
7 state championships still is an amazing thing for me. And again, 4, as you mentioned, and the bar has obviously been raised for quite some time now, and now you've pumped it up even more. So this all feeds into your program. The kids coming up, they expect to perhaps be in this situation.
Oh yes, they do. It's amazing, the kids in 6th, 7th, 8th grade. I've already had a couple girls from 8th grade saying, I'm a freshman now, and they can't wait. And I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. They're so enjoyable. And like I said, I'm just blessed. And the girls that come out, they've heard how we do things. And so they understand this is how we're going to have to behave and how we're going to have to perform.
On and off the field.
Yes, very much so.
We can't mention everybody, but obviously, you have people that have been big contributors. Can you touch on them briefly?
You're talking this year?
Yes.
Oh, well, Mackenzie Zigmont, you can't forget her. I mean, she did a fabulous job.
Read her name all the time.
Oh, Mackenzie, she, in 2015, she played right field. And Haley Gardner was the pitcher, and she wanted, pitchers want to pitch, and she was wanting to get out there. She knew the next year that the ball was going to be in her hand, and it was great to see her grow. Even though I hate what happened in 2016, because I really think we could have went a little bit further, but like we said about losing, I think we all learned something from that, and she grew from that also, and that's what brought her to be such a great pitcher for us in 2017. Megan Turner at shortstop, she's done a fabulous job. But as we were talking earlier about some of these freshmen coming in, Allison Smith,
Okay.
she led the team in hitting, RBI. She broke school records for RBI as a freshman. And in 8th grade, she verbally committed to Ohio State. So she's like one of those examples you see that these freshmen come into college that are just tremendous ball players. Maybe we don't get as far without her either. So those are great contributors. Molly Williams behind the plate. You know, when Molly was a freshman, she's graduated now, senior, so I told her, I says, I need you to start learning how to call pitches. And she's like, oh no, all my coaches do. No, you know what, here,
do it,
I
yeah.
want you to learn how to do it. I believe it gets the kids more into the game.
Sure.
You know, because too many times you see a girl, they just take the sign, give the sign out there. They're not even thinking. They're not thinking about the batter, what she did the last time.
Yeah,
They're
it's
just doing it. And
Setting things up.
yes,
You know?
and I think you should have the right to shake something off. You know, now there's a reason why we want a certain location, but
Right.
you know, the kind of think about that. But I think that's one of the best things for them is to learn how to do that. And I
Yeah.
think that's what makes this team so strong.
You know, the ultimate goal, certainly for you guys, is to go the distance, win the championship. And so very few people get a chance to do that. There are so many young people that compete in all sports and certainly in softball.
Yeah.
And if you don't reach that ultimate goal, you know what, even though maybe you make the championship game, what an experience
Oh, it is.
that is, that you'll always have. And
will
what your young women have achieved, they'll take with them the rest of their lives.
Oh, they sure will. They'll never forget this. I'll never forget it. Just that stage, you know, with all those people, just being down on the field is overwhelming in a way. And this is something we tried to tell the kids, you know, this is, because I'll tell you what, the first couple times we went to state, it was overwhelming for everyone.
Sure.
Now that you've experienced, it's my big job that day is just to keep them calm.
There you are.
Keep them calm and relaxed. I try to smile all the time, no matter what happens, because they have to feel that. Because if they read off of me that I'm concerned, then they're going to be concerned.
We're just about out of time. What are your feelings right now about a repeat?
Oh boy. I would never say that we could repeat, but I believe the talent's going to be there to get close. But I won't ever say we can repeat.
But you know what you've accomplished here. Next up has to be Dancing with the Stars. So you better be preparing for that.
Are you joining me?
Well, I wouldn't count on that. So, Cheryl, unfortunately we are out of time. But boy, it was great to talk with you, and I'm glad we had a chance to do this. And I sure appreciate
Thank you, Jim.
coming in and what you do. You know what you have done for the young people in Champion.
Oh well, thank
Fantastic.
you. They've done a wonderful thing for me.
Well, for sure. All right, we'll be back to close it up here on Loose Change. Right after this.
Breaking Bread is Armstrong's ongoing initiative to help feed the hungry in our community. To date, food and funds have been distributed to over 20 food banks. These organizations need our support throughout the year. Donations can be made at your local Armstrong office. Also, look for special Breaking Bread events in your area. All efforts benefit area food banks and soup kitchens. For more information, like us on Facebook at facebook.com/ArmstrongOneWire.
That's going to do it for another edition of Loose Change. Thanks so much to Cheryl Weaver. Wasn't she a great guest? And for Kelly Award-winning Greg Roten, I'm Jim Evans. We'll catch you next time here on Loose Change. Scoop, throw, and first, we're out of here.